All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Mainly Hoops podcast. If you've been enjoying our content, please make sure to like and subscribe. We appreciate all your support. We're diving into the Big East here. A bit of an interesting conference as of late. The original Big East, of course, we all know and love is deeply missed, but we got the new one here. Cody, I want to just ask you the question, who needs a deep Big East tournament run the most out of these teams? What do you think?
I guess a better question would be who doesn't.
Yeah,
I guess it would start with the top, like UConn and St. John's probably don't need a deep run, but maybe UConn needs to win this to. I don't know about gain confidence. I think this is a UConn team that's always confident with Dan Hurley at the helm there. But I think you could make a case that every single team here can win a game or two. Like it just feels like everyone that's playing in the first round, they all feel like they're in the same bucket. I think this is a double round robin in this league. Everyone plays each other twice, and pretty much every season series was a split. So it's very hard to determine who's actually going to come out of that first round and who has a chance to potentially break through to the semifinals or the finals. But I would say every single team. Villanova doesn't need a run. Like they're in the tournament. There's 3 teams firmly in, and everyone else needs a nice little run here. I would say the most. I'll go as like the most likely team to go on a run would be like from that first round. I actually think it might be Marquette. Like they've played really well lately. Obviously coming off that win against UConn, but over the last month they've actually played some pretty good basketball. So I think if there's a team that's more likely to make that run, I would think it's Marquette. You can flip a coin in that Providence Butler game. I literally have no idea who's going to win that game. Both of their matchups went to double overtime and they split. Like those teams couldn't be more even. Like very offense heavy, and their defense can turn into a layup line. So I can't really tell you what's going to happen with those teams. So yeah, every team needs to make a run, but I think Marquette is most likely to do it. As that team, like with Shaka Smart, always will play up as an underdog.
Yeah, I completely agree with the UConn statement. I think they got the confidence, but they just need maybe some wins under their belt, especially to bounce back after that disappointing Marquette loss this past weekend. But Marcus, I'm going to pose the same question to you. Who do you think needs a tournament run here?
Yeah, I took this as a question for within reason who could use a run, because obviously, like Cody said, everybody needs a run. Everybody that isn't named those top 3 probably need to win this league. Like Seton Hall has played their way out of the tournament. Everyone else is not in unless they win this thing. So I said Seton Hall needs it the most because they're at least, I think, the closest to the bubble compared to the rest of the league, right? Like Creighton's the 5 seed. Creighton's nowhere near tournament consideration. Like Seton Hall's flirted with the bubble. They've been on the bubble, off the bubble all year. So, in my opinion, I think Seton Hall is the team that needs it the most. I just don't think they can really, unfortunately, beat like St. John's, or like they can beat UConn. We've seen it over the last few years, but in a neutral site, big game, tournament game, I don't really see them beating UConn. So I don't really think it's going to happen, but to me, Seton Hall is the team that needs it the most.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Seton Hall definitely, if they want to make it in the tournament, at least need to make the championship game and probably just need to win the tournament to cement themselves in, of course. But Cody, I'm going to toss it back over to you. Compared to our preseason thoughts, who's the overperformers and who's the underperformers of this conference?
Yeah, I'll start with overperformers. I think the number one overperformer is probably Seton Hall, because we kind of had them sitting at the bottom of the league. I think we kind of overlooked them, obviously, and I think we kind of said that they could be the worst team in the power conference ranks, which clearly was wrong. Their defense really proved me wrong. I didn't really love the roster from a defensive standpoint, but like Stephon Payne and Najai Hines really stepped up as rim protectors. where they were among the nation's leaders in block and steal rate throughout the entire year. I know there was a time in the season where they were number one in both. They're finished the regular season number one nationally in block rate at 18.8%, which is a pretty ridiculous mark. But we did see the offense kind of slide in league play, and this is a team that kind of showed that they could lose to anybody in this league, but they can also beat anyone, which has kind of been the Shaheen Holloway way at Seton Hall. So they're definitely the number one overachiever. The other two, I would say Villanova. I guess for my expectations, I didn't really expect them to, do what they were able to do with the roster that Kevin Willard put together. I didn't really like it. I mean, I liked it more from an offensive perspective than a defensive perspective, and I thought that was bad news for a Kevin Willard coach team that is typically defense first. He got this team to 32nd in adjusted defense in KenPom, which is super impressive. And they've just been super balanced, and the offense has kind of come together. The shooting was solid all year long. They did lose Matt Hodge to an ACL, which is a sneaky key injury that nobody really talked about. He's a really important stretch for them, and they don't have a phenomenal replacement for him. So we'll kind of see how they react to that in postseason play, but they're definitely an overachiever. Then the last one would be DePaul for me. This is a team that's been near the bottom for a few years now in Big East play, but they got themselves to a 6th seed. The defense was very good all year long, and I was a little bit higher on the defense coming in, but I didn't think it was going to be this good. So props to DePaul, and I'll just list off the underachievers, and it's a lot of teams in this league, but I think the top three would be Providence, Creighton, and then I did throw UConn in there because I think it was expected for them to win this league, and I think they expected to win this league by multiple games, and the fact that they couldn't even get a share of the Big East title with that loss to Marquette, I would view that as a disappointment for them. But they obviously they have, there's more for them in the bigger picture, but I would say that's a disappointment.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head. I completely agree with you. Marcus, I'm going to ask you now, who's the players to watch in this tournament? Who are you most excited for to tune into?
Yeah, this is an interesting league right now because I don't necessarily think there's a ton of star power. I think there are some intriguing watches. I think there are guys on some of these, especially like St. John's and UConn, that have appeal. But I just said like Zuby Ejiofor is a player that's always pretty fun to watch. Taurus Reed is a good watch. Trey Carroll is one who's had a phenomenal season. I think he's a fun watch. Jalen Sellers maybe can get Providence moving a little bit. He can put them up and really get that offense going. So maybe he's a fun watch if they can sneak out of the first round there. And that, like you said, double overtime twice against Butler. So who knows who's going to win that game. Caden Lewis at Villanova, I think, has appeal. Just like we've talked about with him, it's up and down. He has games where he looks like the best player on the court. He has games where he is nowhere to be found. So I think there's appeal with him just, being a freshman, first year in the Big East tournament. So we'll see what happens. I think there are other players on both St. John's and UConn that are fun to watch. Like Braylon Mullins is always a good watch, in my opinion. You've always obviously got guys like Caravan and Solo Ball who can heat up from behind the arc. So I think there's a lot of appeal, especially with those top two teams. But across the board, this league isn't necessarily filled with tons of star power.
Yeah, definitely. I've been a little underwhelmed, honestly, with the star power in this league compared to just the other conferences around the nation. But there's definitely some quality play and some quality players that we'll see when we tune into this tournament. But Cody, that leads me into my next question. Who's going to be in the championship, and who do you have winning the Big East tournament?
Yeah, I went pretty chalky here. I mean, it's kind of hard to go in a different direction. I took UConn over St. John's. I've thought about taking St. John's over UConn in the title game, but since they're basically playing this game at home, but it is considered a neutral site game, which, I mean, it is definitely good for St. John's for their resume. But I'm just a little bit, I guess I'm a little bit scarred from that effort in Stores when they lost, what was it, 72-40, and they didn't score for the last 17 minutes of the game. Like, late in games, I trust the execution of UConn in a pressure situation to get it done. It wouldn't. I guess I'll talk about a few of the other teams I think have a shot. Like, I guess, like I said, I think Seton Hall has the ability to beat anybody in this league, and they competed with St. John's and UConn in both games that they played them. They just weren't able to capitalize and finish those games late. But I do think they have a chance to potentially. I mean, the Creighton game is going to be tough as well. Creighton could shoot over the top of that Seton Hall defense. If they knock down 40% of their threes, they can win that game. But Seton Hall against St. John's, most likely in the semifinal. I can definitely see Seton Hall heating up the ball enough. Their pressure gives the Johnnies some problems, and they find their way into the final. So I think outside of those top two teams in UConn and St. John's, Seton Hall has the best chance. I mean, I guess look out for Marquette if they match up with UConn again. I think UConn will be better set up for the pressure this time around, just since they have seen it less than a week ago, and they did shoot 3 for 24 from three in a loss there. So I would expect them to shoot it a little bit better as well. But besides that, I don't really see anyone making a run. Like Villanova, they're kind of up against it. I mean, if they match up with DePaul, like they should get by that game, but they're going to have to play UConn and St. John's in order to win this, to win the Big East title. And I just don't see it.
Marcus, are you going a similar route, or did you go somewhere else?
Yeah, I have the same matchup, same result. UConn over St. John's. I just don't really see it shaking out any other way. And honestly, I don't think it should. I think it would be not great for the league if it went a different direction. I think that those are the two best teams. That's what the championship should be. I would expect St. John's to play a little bit better than they did the last time out against UConn. But even still, I think UConn, I still trust a little bit more, even though they didn't win the regular season title. I think UConn is still the best team in this league. Like you mentioned, though, maybe Marquette can sneak by, and maybe that presents an opportunity for Villanova to get into the title game potentially, which obviously would shake things up. But, Marquette's been playing better. Nigel James has been really good as a freshman. That was a name I omitted. But he's averaging 16 a game on the season, been playing really well as of late. So that's a guy to watch out for in this tournament as well. If they can get hot, maybe they can take down UConn, but ultimately I just don't really see it. I think UConn St. John's is what it's going to be, what it should be, and UConn's going to come out on top.
Yeah, we're all in agreement. I don't really have a lot to add, to be honest. I'm going UConn over St. John's as well. Pretty chalky tournament, to be honest. I mean, I'm looking at Seton Hall, as both of you mentioned, maybe making a run. And Villanova, obviously, is a quality team as well. It wouldn't surprise me at all to see them in that championship game. But, yeah, I'm going UConn over St. John's. That's what I'm most confident in. Anything else to add here?
I think if we were a little bit too bold, I think we'd end up looking pretty stupid if we didn't come up with this title game. Like, Villanova could get there, Seton Hall could get there, but they're up against it. And UConn and St. John's have shown that they're the class of this league for the entire year. So,
yeah, I'd rather play it safe. Marcus, anything?
No.
All right, let's wrap it up here. As always, thank you for listening to the Mainly Hoops podcast.